Hey everybody, it's your girl J9 Eve, and we're going to talk about what happens when a celebrity, a man celebrity, a beautiful man celebrity whom is married to a normal pretty person and then becomes a celebrity. And like I said, is a beautiful celebrity. He is. We're talking about Jesse Williams, of course, the blue-eyed bandit. He was married to, a normal, basically. And, she made all the money. She was a smart young thing. She had, bought properties and investment properties and, sold them, invested more. She was a go-getter, one might say, or one would have to say. She was a go-getter. And so her and Jesse Williams, very youngins that was in their little 20s, they decided to get married. She put one of her properties in his name just to show him how serious she was about the potential for their future. Now, when you end up in a relationship with, is rolling with somebody who's too pretty, things happen, baby. This is a risk in and of itself. He didn't have anything. He got with her. When he was with her, she had everything. She was the money. She was the brains. She was the base. She was the foundation. Now, I can't say whether she was pointing that out to him on a regular basis. But the way she's kind of telling everything now, it is kind of ringing to me a little bit. It sounds kind of sort of like, I'll put it past her. Put it to you like that she was telling him the same thing she's telling us right now. Kind of reminding him of what she did for him and how it was her and, you ain't really got nothing going on. I'm doing all of these things, She tried to run the relationship like she was running the businesses, or her businesses, should I say. She says their businesses, but them was her businesses because he didn't have no business. Okay. His business was his face and them eyes. That was his business. But so, they hit a little bit of a hard spot, but they still had her properties to kind of keep him afloat. But they decided to go ahead, and he wanted to be an actor. He wanted to be an actor. They were living in New York. And he would audition for little things and get little stuff. But he wanted to be serious about it. So they decided to move to LA. Hollywood, movie stars, limousines, all that good jazz. So he leaves first, and goes and tries out, finds some work and stuff. And then right before it's time for her to come down, about 6 months or so later, he lands the job on Grey's Anatomy, which is a boomer. This thing was like a juggernaut, And of course, he looks like he looks and is on this show that is about doctors whom always are in provocative situations, if you might say. So he's perfect for this. They got him looking smart and capable, and he's hot. So he fit right in. Oh, he fit in real good. But there's something that happens. They are not the same. His wife, yes, technically, in the real world, much like myself, I translate as cute, I suppose. But I ain't trying to go to Hollywood and stand next to these people who have professionally morphed themselves or have, been in a position to have certain things that can make them look a certain way. Like, say very expensive personal trainers and just personal chefs that build that cook them things that turn their bodies into something the aliens look at and go, what's going on with this one? So, of course, an upgrade happens. This is what happens. And in my perspective, I feel like this. If I am just me being me, looking like me. And this is why I would never get with a man that looked like this. This is why I would never do it. If I had somebody like this and he goes into that sector of the world, Hollywood, with the movie stars, the actresses, the most beautiful women that we've all ever seen, and he can't land none of them, I'm gonna be like, well, how are we gonna get this money, baby? You ain't big enough. If you can't land Rihanna, what are you doing here? You know what I'm saying? Ain't that what it's all for? If you're gonna go hard, then you need to go hard, baby. So, of course, he gets there and he's amongst the beautiful people. He's one of the beautiful people. It's sad and it hurts your feelings. It's like, oh, I did all of this stuff. I had this person, but you knew you had a butterfly in your fucking house. You knew you had that in your house. Like, you knew that was what that was. Jesse was not made for you or for one person. When the universe builds people that look like that, it builds them for all of us. Jesse belongs to the world. He can't be held down in some little spot because you feel like it and because you made good investments when you was young and was able to say, I'm a boss. Yeah, you a boss, but he's a butterfly. He's a beautiful, beautiful butterfly. He's made for us to look at. That's how it works. He's made for us to look at. Not listen to, necessarily, but look at, for sure. That's what the beautiful people are for. So, when he run off, y'all get divorced, and now it's looking like he might be about to get married to this new person whom, of course, looks like Hollywood. She looked like, you can probably smell it through the screen. She smelled like cocoa butter and lollipops. And, her skin is insanely flawless. This is how it works. This is the come up. It's all part of the same thing. Like, why would you want to hold a butterfly back? Is what I'm saying. Like, if anything, honestly, you could have married a gremlin and he not done anything with his life. And y'all still got divorced because he'd have been cheating or he'd have ran off with somebody else cuter than you. These are all options that could have possibly happened and probably would have statistically. You happen to have Jesse Williams in your house and had the seeds of said thing. You're not guaranteed to keep everybody who comes into your life. You don't own people once you encounter them. You just don't. And to think that someone owes you because of what you give them, I mean, it just, honestly, that thought process in itself kind of makes me be like, anybody who got away from it is probably in a better situation now, because you don't want to have to live underneath of someone else's expectations based on what they did for you. This is why people don't like to accept gifts from certain people, because they know that, oh, now I owe you. So I owe you my life and my time and my everything because you did this thing when even part of you even doing it for me might have been for your selfish reasons. Like, I'm not saying that's what happened here. It does kind of feel like it though, a little bit. Like, I could be wrong, but I'm a feeler. I go by feelings. This is how I feel. It feels like it. Like when I listen and I read her messages, her telling the story about this, it's like this constant reminding of what she did for him. Anybody who was with him could have done that and probably would have. They just wouldn't have been in the same house that y'all were in. He might not have been had as much money as or been able to move as much as he wanted to, but you look at him. In reality, this is what we always say about the beautiful people. The beautiful people, there's always going to be somebody to help the beautiful. It's a whole lot easier for people to help the beautiful. If he had hitchhiked his way to LA, he would have made it there. Because ain't nobody going to... How many people in a row you think going to look at his face on the side of the road and not let him in their car? He was going to get down there. And then once he got down there, the first place he walks into, that's like a talent agent, they're going to stick him in one of the houses with the rest of their talent. He could have made it there. Let's be real. He could have made it to where he was going without you, but he didn't. He did it with you. So how about we find the positive in this? How about I played a part in him and somebody else, forget him, but just somebody else finding their dream, doing what they love. Do you not love your kids? Do you wish you didn't have them? You know what I'm saying? Like, what part do you regret? Because most marriages end in divorce, realistically. Just statistically, just in reality, most marriages end in divorce. No matter who you married, it's more than likely that it would have ended in divorce than not. Yours ended in a divorce with this man, whom actually did. Your investment paid off. In reality, this is just another one of your investments that paid off. You got beautiful babies, and you got financially, it definitely paid off. It's not like you have a bum ex-husband or baby daddy where somebody who get with you is going to think, oh, her standards are low. No, your ex-husband was Jesse Williams. Famous and beautiful. If anything, your bar is set very high now. So it's all in the way that you choose to see these things. It's like you were never guaranteed that you were going to get a happily ever after. Most of us don't. That's not statistically even how it works, especially if you start your relationship out and you're doing way better than your husband. It's a rare thing that works out. Now, I know we could go back to Denzel Washington, but that's a special case. Like him and his wife, their situation was very similar to yours. It was very similar to this young woman's. Well, not a young woman no more, but to this woman, to Jesse's ex-wife. It was very similar. She was a lawyer. She was the breadwinner. He was pursuing his dream. She supported him all through it. They had kids together. And then he blew up. The difference is that he stayed with his wife. Because that's a different type of man. You know what I'm saying? He's a different type of man. You know what I'm saying? And his wife wasn't holding it over his fucking head that she's the one who's doing all of these things. She just wanted to support him. She believed in him. And if they had split up, she wouldn't have been talking shit about him. And that's what that is. She wouldn't have. And they still would have been friends because it's the type of people that you are. Okay? And you say when y'all split up, they all went with him. You know why? Because you probably were more in a sourish type of a way when he wasn't being that way, which made it easier for them to just go to the side that sounds less stressed out or less stressful. If both of you guys took the high road with it, you probably would have been able to keep some of those people. They probably both would have just had both. And you probably still would have had each other on a normal, regular basis, not just co-parenting, but still being able to be friends. All these things are possibilities. It's all the way that you choose to carry it. If you choose to be bitter, then you actually do lose everything and now have to start completely over. That means there's no friendship. This person was in your life for nothing unless you had kids with them, and now literally that's the only reason they were there that you could come up with. It's because now you chose not to preserve anything that you had with that person on a personal basis. So that's all on you. There's no victim here, is what I'm saying. You didn't get left out in the cold. You didn't hand him all your stuff and now you're homeless and he's up. That's not what happened. Y'all didn't do a trade-off where you were doing so well, he was doing terrible, and now he's doing well and you're doing terrible. That's not what happened. So to try to, look at him. Nobody cares that he was broke. Look at him. I mean, nobody cares. You can be broke and look like this, or you can be rich and look the opposite of this. These are the choices to be successful. Okay? You can't look like a gremlin and be broke and think everything's gonna be great. It's just not. But he had that face. He toting around that face. He was gonna be okay regardless, unless he started doing drugs or something. Like he was gonna be okay. You did not make him. And I'll tell you, this is probably what is messing her up the most. Is that she set herself in her mind that she made him. And it's just not so. And the idea, the fact that she could even come to that synopsis that she made him is kind of a thing of like, I'm sure he does feel a whole lot more free now. Can you imagine somebody who didn't even know you your entire fucking life? They didn't know you your whole life. But they come in and they do, you're with them for this time. You spend this time with them, and then something good happens to you, and then they literally remind you that it's them who gave it to you, even though they weren't there. Even though they weren't there when you got it, even though it was you reading your lines, it was you being you, it was your personality that you had since you were a kid, like you, it was you and your you-ness that got you these things. They just were there with you when you went, and then they try to claim it for themselves. And then when you go on and you want to be happy, and then they're just standing there in the back just reminding you, well, the only reason you got it is because of me. If I hadn't a da-da-da-da-da. It's just not so, baby girl. It's just not so. That man would have made it without you. I promise you that. Be happy that you was the one that helped to get him there. Now your children's father is in a position where if they ever want to get into stuff like that, if they want to get into that kind of thing, you know how hard it is to break into acting? A lot of people want to do it, but they never even bother to try because they know the odds. Their odds are now literally, it's overwhelmingly high that they are going to, it would be hard for them not to be able to get that goal if that's what they wanted to do. There's doors open for them that just would not have been open had it not been. This is a shared experience you had. That's all I wanted to say. I don't want to drag it on, but that's my perspective. And this will be my first video that I've made without my face plastered all over it. And it'll just be pictures of said situation and said people involved. And I appreciate everybody who listens and watched. And be kind to each other. Think about how it ends, because that's a part of the story too. The ending is a part of the story as well. It's not just the end. It's just another part of the story. Think of it as another chapter. Mama love you. I'm not going to behave, so you're going to have to. Peace out.